Yo te traigo esa bomba puertorriqueña.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the C3 Podcast, Cinco de Mayo special edition. It's not Mexico's independence. It's my buddy, that freaking Puerto Rican's celebration. I got you some Puerto Rican music for my Puerto Rican brother. What is up, Joe Riolano?
Tony, what is the word, brother? It is such a great day here at C3. It is Tuesday. We have the premier Carolina Panthers podcast coming on. We've got so much to talk about tonight. We've got some really great material we've got to cover. Plus, we've got a few surprises.
We have our brother from another mother, Mel Mayock, back on the show again this week. We love having Mel around because he takes the show to another level, and he does it with that draft knowledge. Congratulations on making it through the weekend.
Woo! Great to be here, man. Favorite night of the week, man. Last weekend was my highlight of the year, the draft weekend. Had so much fun, so we got a lot to talk about. Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Guys, we've got a Power Pack show. It is episode 15.14, draft grades and fanny tagging. We've got a fantastic show for you tonight, folks. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to run through the picks. We're not going to spend a terrible amount of time on them individually because what we're going to do is delve deep into some important topics for you guys. What we have is a special interview this week. We've been trying to figure out how we could get to know our draft picks more than just the typical, national media, the typical Charlotte take, the 5-second kind of looks at these guys. And what we did is we tracked down a Seattle Seahawks beat writer by the name of Greg Bell, who also happens to be the director of writing of the Washington Athletics Department. And what we're going to do is bring you the inside ticket on Shaq Thompson, what you need to know about this draft pick, and why Carolina should be excited. We're going to get to that at about half past the hour, guys, so please stick around. Maybe 20 past, we're going to try to fly through things. But also, we've got, Joe, what are you excited to talk about tonight before we get into what's hot?
I'm excited about who we get to bring on tonight. It is Mr. Anthony Ruzzuti, who is the lead writer, for lack of a better term. I really think he's the editor for the NFC South on ProFootballSpot.com, PFS. They put out some good material. He really gives some great coverage for the Carolina Panthers. It's going to be fantastic to get his insight onto what he thinks the Panthers did with this draft. I'm really excited about getting him.
Tell us, what time is he coming on the show?
He'll be on about 10:40 or so.
All right, 10:40. Joe, before we jump in, everybody knows they got to follow us on Twitter. That's where it's going down, at @cat_chronicles. Check us out on Facebook, Carolina Cat Chronicles. That's our page. Like it. You're watching on YouTube, we'd appreciate if you go ahead and just click the subscribe button. It helps us grow. What we get to bantering, we get to partying up here, we have fun talking about the Carolina Panthers. So sometimes we go a little long. Sometimes you got to leave. If that's the case and you can't hang out with my pretty mug, Joe's pretty mug, Mel Mayock's okay mug, what we'll do is you can go to our website and you can click podcasts. Simple. You go there, you find the menu, you click podcast, and it's got an option for you to subscribe any way that you want. You like iTunes and Apple? Go ahead. Subscribe. If you like Android and Stitcher, do it. And if you are a computer nerd, like some of us are, hit the RSS feed. We got it all there for you. Guys, we are going to blast on into the program, and it's time for our opening segment of What's Hot.
Austria. Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie. No, I'm just getting warmed up.
Here's Charlie facing the fire, and there's George hiding in Big Daddy's pocket.
On the dial-up because I spit hot fiber.
Take a flamethrower to this place!
What's hot on C3? That's right. You can go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and find out what's hot going on with the Carolina Panthers, and we're here to talk about it tonight, guys. There's nothing hotter, nothing scorching hotter than that flamethrower style than the NFL draft. Carolina Panthers, 15 classes in. First round, Shaq Thompson. Second round, trade up, Devin Funchess. No third round pick to get bunches of Funchess. Fourth round, trade again, Daryl Williams. Fifth round, help me out, guys. We've got, and you guys got to help me with his name.
Cameron.
Well, we got David Mayo first.
Excuse me,
That's
David
right.
Mayo. Fifth
That's
round,
right.
thank you. Sixth round.
No, we had 2 fifth rounds, no 6th round.
My
We got
bad.
David.
Thank you.
We got David Mayo first, and then Cameron Artis Payne, the
Cameron
artist
Artis
from Payne, who is drawing pain all over the NFC South.
And that's what he's going to be doing, and he was doing it before in the SEC, so he's around.
That's it.
He's used to those southern states. Guys, I think many of us were surprised 25 Shaq Thompson's name was picked, but if you go to the website, there was one guy by the name of Grant Hughes. Big Splash Grant Hughes was not surprised. He picked it. Mel, you're our draft insider. Were you how shocked were you with the Shaq Thompson pick, and how happy were you for Grant Hughes for landing this?
Well, honestly, I was not shocked because there were reports before the draft that the Panthers are showing more interest in Shaq Thompson than any other team, and that kind of goes to show why we picked him. I personally was hoping for Landon Collins, the safety out of Alabama, because it's a bigger need. But I tell you, the Panthers felt like Shaq Thompson's going to make the biggest difference. Had a first-round grade on him. We're excited about him. Apparently, the Dallas Cowboys are getting ready to jump on him. So, it seems like a great pick at this point.
You
Good
guys
for
hang
Grant.
around. You guys hang around. In 10 minutes, we're going to talk to Seattle beat writer and for Washington University as well, and he's got the inside tip on Shaq Thompson. I'm going to tell you guys, I recorded this earlier this afternoon. I don't know much about Shaq Thompson. I'm going to go ahead and own up to it. By the end, you're going to be excited to hear what you got to hear. Second thing I got to say just before I turn it over to Joe is that I heard today on what's the Mike Florio show, NBC Pro Football Talk radio show, they interviewed Landon Collins. And no offense, I'm kind of glad we didn't get him. He's not the brightest bulb in the bunch.
Yeah. Hey, that's the kind of thing that we don't get to see, so good for the Panthers.
Exactly right.
Maybe that's why they didn't draft him.
Yep.
That's right. Is maybe he doesn't interview well, but they asked him what does he think he needs to work on in the pro game. He said, I don't know. We'll have to figure it out when the coaches get with me. So, he could just be a bad interview. Joey, the draft is over. There was a lot of hype. There was a lot of build-up. It seemed like the Carolina Panthers flew through the draft. We were a second team. I think may have been the second team done.
We were.
We were one of the earliest teams done. Got typical C- C draft grades from the draft gurus. How'd you feel coming out of the weekend?
Well, let me say this. I did see one grade that I was blown away from our boy, Tuna Casseroli.
What does he got to say?
He gave us a B.
Oh,
Really?
well, good for him.
No kidding.
You know what I give his tuna fish casserole?
Yeah, he gave us a B. So anyway,
Seafood.
I think our draft was worthy of a B. I don't think it was a C. If we wouldn't have made the move late to get Williams, I think then we definitely would have deserved a C. But making that move and getting him was sort of a saving grace, because he's somebody that I think can come in and contribute right away. I'm not going to say he's going to start, but he definitely can come in and contribute right away. Maybe getting some reps, giving some guys some breathers. As far as Shaq Thompson goes, I was surprised, even though I found out later that he was one of our longer interviews, I guess. And when you don't know anything about somebody, you go and you look them up on YouTube or somewhere, and you see their highlights. So you only get to see the great stuff. You don't get to see missed assignments, missed tackles, that kind of thing. But this guy, his highlight reel, the most amazing and impressive thing about his highlight reel is its defense and offense. That's what blew me away.
It looks like a high school tape.
Right, it was. He is such an incredible athlete. When he played, he'll tag your fanny first and foremost. All right, he'll tag your fanny, and then he'll get the ball out of the backfield and take it to the house.
You might have to clarify that a little bit later on in the podcast. What do you mean?
Go ahead and tell us right now, because Joe likes fannies.
Tag your fanny is he will lay the lumber. He will put it on you. Yes. He will, maybe that's not clear.
Watch out, ladies.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
He will.
It's better than not laying the lumber.
He's a depleter. Let's just put it that way. Guys on the offense, when he's on the field, they better have their head on a swivel, or they're going to come up with their helmet twisted sideways.
Guys, is there any question about the Panthers having the premier linebacking core in the league? Is there any doubt? Is there any doubt? Can anybody debate that?
No, I don't think now there's even an issue. I saw that.
Well, we got to see where Shaq plays at first. Is he going to be a linebacker? Is he going to be a safety?
Well, they gave him number 54.
He's a safety backer. That's what I call it.
Right.
But they gave him Will Witherspoon's old number, 54,
yes,
so I don't see them putting him back at safety.
No, but he's going to come in. What he does give us is, in the past, when we've gone into nickel, we have sometimes brought in a defensive back to, in a linebacker position. Well, we won't be seeing that anymore.
You don't have to sub. You can still run a nickel, but you're using
with two backers, right? Instead of bringing a safety into the box. So I think that's going to be huge.
I agree. I think what you're going to get here is that, and we'll hear a lot about versatility of Shaq Thompson. And when I call him a safety backer, this is what I mean by that. Is that a lot of people, they're not sure what position what he's suited for. I mean, he's played every position. We had one of our buddies, Joe. Somebody told us that he was going to play quarterback at Washington if the guy got hurt. Anthony Nippert, right?
Yeah.
So what you got is you got a guy that just play ball, right? What I think is you're going to get is that we don't have to sub now and try to match our defense to offensive packages. But what we can do is respond to hurry-up defenses now, or more fast-paced defenses. And what you're going to see Shaq doing is that if they got extra receivers out there, he's going to take 7 steps back before the snap. If you need to play more up close, tight end maybe, or something that like more run, 3 traditional linebackers, he's just going to step up. And that's why I call him a safety backer is, maybe Troy Polamalu-ish is, if that makes, just put him out there and see. Now you're gonna have 3 guys that can fly around. Imagine.
Right, you really are. You're gonna have 3 linebackers that can fly.
And what you do is you don't tell them what to do. You just say, hey, rush 4, and y'all 3 react to the play.
You guys remember Mark Fields?
Yes.
Dude was incredible, right? And our linebacking core was premier in the league when we had Mark Fields. And I think we're going to get back to that with Shaq.
I agree. I think to quantify this is it gives us 3 outstanding linebackers, and really when we're in our base defense, the 43, we're almost in a nickel set because he is that hybrid where he can play linebacker, or if he needs to, he can drop back into coverage. So really you have one man that can play 2 positions, truthfully.
You know what game last year probably dictated this pick? It was the Philadelphia game. They spread us out and ran Darren Sproles and backs out of the backfield, and our linebackers couldn't cover. Right? They would expose either against our nickel or against and Ben Wicker.
The problem with that game was Antoine Cason.
Yeah,
that was a huge problem. Sure,
brutal, but We'll see how it is against Philly this year on Monday night.
I like the more and more I like this pick. And here, I don't know. I'm gonna give you guys two. You know what? I'm gonna save it for finish that thoughts. But be thinking about this: Levante David or Cam Chancellor. All right. I got some couple of sound clips I want to go through from Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman addressed some of these issues, and I think, let's see, what do we got here?
The history of sports and decisions that people make, way back in the day, Branch Rickey always used to say, you're better off trading a player a year too soon than a year too late. Well, I learned a long time ago in the draft, the most dangerous thing you can do is to say, he'll be there in the next round.
Yeah, you're right. Get the player you want instead of chancing it.
If he fits, if you feel he can be a dynamic player for you, why wait?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
That's Dave Gettleman responding to people saying, hey, we could have gotten, maybe you selected Shaq Thompson too early. Rumors, though, Mel was all over this early, turns out to be true. Who wanted him right after us? 27, I believe.
Dallas Cowboys were all over him.
Yeah, and then Dave Gettleman confirmed that later on. All right, we got 3 more minutes, and then we're going to jump into the interview. But I think the most controversial pick in this draft, and we're going to come back to all of this, was the Devin Funchess trade. The second round opens up. All of a sudden, a trade is announced, and we move from 57 to 41. I was outside doing yard work. I came in. I was like, man, I still got a few minutes before the Panthers are going to pick. I was listening to the radio, that type of thing, peeking through the door. All of a sudden, the Carolina Panthers on the clock. News comes out. Some people said, Mel, you text me and you said, it looks like they're looking at Funchess. Bunches of Funchess. The name comes out. The first thing I tweet is, how do you defend that? Mel Mayock, how do you defend that? You gave up a 3 and a 6, I believe.
Yeah, my first reaction was, man, you give up a third? This is such a deep draft. You're giving up a good edge rusher or maybe even a Justin Hardy, which we'll talk about later. But as it turns out, hey, you called me an average-looking mug, so I had to give you a little jab.
You're beautiful, man. You're beautiful, brother.
Thank you, brother. But you don't have to tell me anything I already know. But just play it. But hey, it turns out that 6 teams called the St. Louis Rams looking to get that pick. So Gettleman had to up his ante, had to up his game. And you know what? Hey, Joe, we talked about this 100 times. Anytime the Saints have beat us, other than Drew Brees, who were we afraid of? Jimmy Graham, right?
Always. He's a Panther killer.
And when Anthony Gonzalez was there in Atlanta, they killed us. So rumors are.
But he's not a tight end.
But he's the same type player. And Jimmy Graham was not really a tight end. He spread out wide. He didn't come in and block.
He didn't play in the box much.
Right. He was. His little trader quarterback called him a tight end to keep the money down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that's one of the problems I have with Drew Brees. But hey, rumors were the Saints were extremely high on replacing Graham with Funchess, and the Atlanta Falcons were geared up to take him to replace Anthony Gonzalez. So, it looks like he did what he had to do. And man, I tell you, the more and more you read about Funchess, it's going to be a Funchess type of year.
Garrett, at Nick's Garrett, tweets in and says, I love the Shaq and Devin pick. And, I think that's cool. I think that's cool that you got the boldness to say that and to not kind of play it neutral, right?
Garrett's a smart dude, man. Garrett's a smart guy.
I'll tell you this, I may myself have even played it neutral on the Devin Funchess pick because of the idea I've been baited into this idea that Dave Gettleman addressed with Shaq Thompson just then is that if you could get him at 56 and you picked him at 40, that you
41.
made a mistake.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
You can say
It doesn't matter.
32. The fact is that you don't have both picks.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, if you got who you wanted, then you made the right selection. The more you think about this is the guy is enormous. He's athletic. There's a YouTube video of him dunking the ball. He's got a bigger vertical than Kelvin Benjamin. And let me say, as I simmered on this and I let it marinate, and you know what? Immediately, it had nothing to do with Devin Funchess. I know that I wasn't upset about Funchess. What I was upset about was having to give up the third.
Right.
Me too. That's the only ding I really gave the whole draft. Giving up that third.
I felt like, hey, you're going to take a wide receiver in the second. I thought, man, we could really use an offensive tackle in the third or an offensive lineman.
You know who I wanted other than Justin Hardy was that Zadarius Smith, that pass rushing defensive end out of Kentucky that we could have gotten in the third.
Yeah, and, I didn't know that we're going to be trading up in the fourth, but the Daryl Williams was kind of luck at that point.
Dude, best pick of the draft. Best pick of the draft for the Panthers.
So I think, though, as it's settled in, this is my defense, and then we're going to play a little clip of Gettleman on Funchess, of the Funchess. Not a defense, my explanation of why this is going to be great. Where has Carolina's offense struggled the most in the last
Red zone?
Red zone. That's exactly right. Under Mike Shula, we've had trouble. And you know what? In Shula's defense, when you throw out Burson or when it was Steve Smith and Ted Ginn, small guys that had trouble. Well, you can exclude Steve Smith, but if you look at these guys, Ted Ginn, Brenton Burson, who did we have last year?
Jericho Country.
Small target.
Jason Avant, who they said had good hands, but we didn't see it.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Smaller targets, guys, but once everything has to work perfectly for it to work. And so what you would get is you would just get in the red zone and everything would just bog down. People
now you got Benjamin, Funchess, Olsen, maybe even a little bit of Stephen Hill. Holy crap, we're going to be good. Woo.
Yeah, I just feel like you just do this, you just throw it 2 feet over everybody's head on purpose. So I like this. Here is Dave Gettleman on the pick.
It's funny you should ask that. And again, hindsight's always 20/20. But we felt very strongly about Shaq. Humphreys was taken right in front of us, and we were thrilled that Shaq was there. As I looked at it, one of the things part of the process of the draft is Mark Cons, our director of pro personnel, and his staff will sit down, evaluate all the other teams, like a week before, because you got to include those free agents and street signings. Excuse me for needs. You don't do it in February.
Well, he goes on to talk about the Cowboys thing. I forgot I had gotten 3 clips. I'm not going to play the Funchess clip, but what he just said is this, is that if you're going to pick him at 47 and you have to pick him at 41 and he wasn't going to be there, so what's the problem? He also said the guy plays faster than in his underwear, right? So he said that he has and he also talked that he's saying he's not the same guy as Kelvin Benjamin, that he's a fluid athlete. Mel, I got to ask you this. You were high on Funchess after the end of the college season. Then you got overwhelmed by the combine. Tell us what happened to you. What did you do wrong?
Well, originally I had him listed as my number 5 wide receiver that I wanted for the Panthers. And that's pretty high considering this draft class when you got Amari Cooper, Kevin White, Devontae Parker. Devin Funchess was way up on my list, and the biggest reason was my wife's a big Notre Dame fan, so I watch a lot of Notre Dame football. And they played Michigan, and all I heard during that game was Devin Funchess. And that guy ran up and down the field. Was awesome. So I was really high on the guy. But he ran a 4.79 at the combine. And
jeez, did he run it backward?
But apparently it turns out that he had an extremely late night the night before in travel and getting there or something that was beyond his control. He didn't go to ECU, so he wasn't partying all night. But
Man, I can run a 4.79 after I partied.
We'll see that down in Jacksonville in September.
Hell yeah.
All right?
Let's do
We're
it.
going to write that down.
We're
going to write that down.
Let's see if I can break 6. Let's do it.
There you go. 4.79, 10-yard dash. Looking forward to it, Professor.
They call it the 10-yard. They don't call it the 3-cone shuttle. They call it the 3-cone stumble.
It's going to be fun. Man, we got to talk about that too. But, hey, I got caught up in the slowness and how Gettleman was talking about he needed speed and everything else, so Devin Funchess fell off my radar. But you know what? He ran a 4.47 at his pro day, and that just kind of got lost in the mix. So shame on me, somebody who takes pride in knowing things about the draft, for overlooking him based on a stupid 40 at the combine.
Well, you know what? I'm going to throw a little criticism out to you right here, and that is that maybe you fell into the same trap. And look, Mel did tremendous work on the draft, so I'm going to find anything I can to nitpick tonight just because I like picking at him. But maybe you fell into the same trap in the reverse with the Perryman pick. I mean, you've seen the tape, you've seen what he can do and all of this, and then the big, tall guy comes out and surprises you at the combine. Could you have the opposite effect? Way to go, Joe.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't think you heard that.
How many beers did you have, man?
It looks like he's drinking a margarita.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get going, but, hey, Joe, can you text Ruzzuti and tell him we need 45 after?
Okay.
Hey, I hear you on Perriman, but I'm telling you, I like what I see in that guy. He catches with his hands. He had a couple drops, no doubt, but that dude's an animal, and he caught better than I think he gets credit for. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how he does with Steve Smith up there.
Actually, Joe, why don't you tell him we'll call him?
I don't have a...
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Okay, never mind. Don't do that then. All right, time to play. Finish.
Okay, sometimes I just don't get people. Human beings are so weird. Who talks in front of a camera by themselves?
That is exasperating.
We thought that was some of these ideas, some of these things that you use every day. Who's the guy or a girl that was like,
makes no sense.
Good idea.
It's time for Finish That Thought, folks, where I pose a thought and my buddies finish it, but I'm jumping in on the action this week. Guys, number 1, finish that thought. Justin Hardy, my boy, the man with the golden gloves, going to Atlanta of all places, Mel, is...
exasperating, just like the clip said coming in. Man, you've been following that dude, wanting him in Carolina for almost a year now. You had stories up about following the man with the golden gloves. And of all places to go.
Countdown clock at one point.
Yeah, of all places to go. I think the dude should retire. I think he should do the right thing.
Joe, the idea of Justin Hardy going to Atlanta of all places is?
It's just not fair, I tell you. It's really not fair. We had such an investment emotionally in him becoming a Panther. And then, lo and behold, not only does he not go to the Panthers, but he goes to the much despised, disgusting, dirty birds of Atlanta. It's just exasperating.
It's exasperating.
It's exasperating. This makes no sense. Justin Hardy, the idea of him going to Atlanta of all places makes me feel dirty. It makes me feel dirty that my boy, the man of integrity, the man of hard work, the man that is going to that nobody will ever want to leave an organization, is going to go play with a bunch of nasty, filthy, dirty, bird cheaters.
I don't think I could do it. It's awful.
You know what makes me feel the most dirty out of all of this, fellas, is that I'm secretly going to be cheering for a fucking Atlanta Falcon.
Dude, now that's the question I had for you, man. You cannot pull for a Falcon. He has to be dead to you now.
I can't do it. I love Justin Hardy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull for him for every game that has no implications with Carolina, and also I'm going to pull for him to be awesome and them somehow screw it up. I got to pull for my man. But
I'm going to ask Panther Nation to chime in. If you're out there, I want you guys to tweet out either the professor should pull for Justin Hardy or Justin Hardy should be dead to him. I want to see what Panther fans have to say. Because to me, you go to Atlanta, man. You dead to me. You dead to me.
You dead. You dead, mofo. Not to me.
We can hope the Falcons screw it up and cut him.
They
guys,
will.
We're going to come back and we're going to talk about Lel Collins and all the guys toward the end of the show. We've got way too much to cover tonight. We've got a ton of material. But first, Joey, can you tell them where they got to shop? Make it a quick plug. Mother's Day is coming.
Mother's Day is coming. And if you're like me, procrastination is king. Amen. So we want to say to you, never fear, Amazon is here. While checking out T3 for all the hottest Panther news from the fans' perspective, look at the tabs toward the top of the page and click the tab that says Amazon and start looking for that perfect Mother's Day gift. It's easy, convenient, and you get to help your favorite Panthers podcast grow.
It costs you not one penny more.
Does not cost you.
Don't go to Amazon. Where do they got to go?
No, they got to click the tab at the top of the C3 webpage, and that will get them to Amazon. So,
man, Mel, you bought a gift, right?
That's right.
Oh man, I bought about 3.
I saw a robot vacuum.
Yeah.
The best thing about this is
I didn't give it away. I hope his wife's not watching.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, brother. Yeah, Mel bought a vacuum cleaner for his wife for Mother's Day.
Oh, sexy. Take it easy.
The best thing about this is, other than the fact that you'll get your perfect Mother's Day gift there, once you're done shopping, you can get right back to reading all the hot takes on the CarolinaCatChronicles.com website.
Or
Professor, I told you Garrett was a smart man, didn't I?
No, what did he say? I've got to be dead? Oh,
he said Justin should be dead to the professor.
Probably a Carolina damn Tar Heel fan. Also, one other thing, guys, RoaringRiot.com just announced the Union of Roaring Riot, 6 new fan club charters across the nation for Carolina Panthers to watch it. You can check it out. You can join us in Jacksonville. We'll get back to that. There's a wonderful story right now on the website. Panther Nation is a Roaring Riot, but you can come with us. We're going to be joining the Roaring Riot team in Jacksonville for the season opener. You can come with us, or you can go to Atlanta and not cheer for Justin Hardy, but secretly cheer for him, or you could go to Memphis and boo Byron Bell, or secretly cheer for him because he sucks and we're going to get a lot of sacks. All these things you can do, and they will arrange it all for you.
Dude, I can't wait. I'm going to Jacksonville, man. I can't wait.
Let's jump into the interview. We got Greg Bell. We got a special interview, guys, because we need to know about the Panthers' #1 pick, Shaq Thompson, and it's a wonderful. And we're playing 4 parts. Thanks for coming on the show, Greg.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on, Anthony.
We reached out to you because when the Carolina Panthers called Shaq Thompson's name at 25. I think some people were surprised in Carolina. Now, some of the draft gurus said they called it. In fact, one of our writers had actually called it and picked it in a pick'em, and he won a contest, a friendly bet between all the guys. But we wanted to know, we just really don't know a ton about Shaq Thompson. Could you tell us, were you surprised to see him go in the first round? This is Greg Bell.
In a way I was, and I've covered Shaq Thompson since he came to the University of Washington from Grand High School in Sacramento 4 or 5 years ago now. And the problem in the NFL terms was he was the classic tweener that everyone calls it. Was he a safety? Was he a linebacker? Even was a running back last year for the University of Washington. He was so good at everything. He was that typical jack-of-all-trades, master of none. And so a lot of NFL scouts didn't think there was a true position for him. They thought he was undersized for a linebacker, would get overwhelmed by tight ends and even some big running backs that might be able to block him. So I think that a lot of NFL teams didn't know what to do with him. And the teams like Carolina, teams like Seattle, the trend in the NFL now is to get athletes and just cultivate as many athletes as you can get on your roster and then sort them out from there. And I think that's what Carolina did. and they saw Shaq Thompson as the preeminent defensive athlete in the draft. I mean, there are some athletes that can pass rush, but that's all they do. Shaq Thompson can cover, he can run back kicks, he can rush the passer, he can tackle in the open field, he can cover wide receivers and running backs, and that's why the Panthers got him. And I applaud their vision. I think they're going to use him very creatively. And it'll be tough to put him in one position, I think, Anthony.
You sound pretty high on him, and would you say that this was a reach, or do you think that this, because what our GM has ultimately said is that they had knowledge that Dallas was going to take him, so there was no way that he's going to be available even if they moved back into the second round. So do you think this was a reach, or do you think this is just like you said or implied, that just going after the best guy they could at that time?
I think it's a draft strategy of taking the best athlete. It's a cliche, but the best athlete available. And over time, I've covered the NFL now since before 2000, and I've found teams that habitually just draft the best guy there and find a place for him once he's on the roster succeed. Out here in Seattle, that's how they've done it the last 5 years with John Schneider and Pete Carroll, and they've gotten to 2 Super Bowls. They'll figure it out. Once they get all the athletes, the best athletes they can, they'll figure it out. The teams that get in trouble draft for need. Well, that need might change in 1 or 2 or 3 years by free agency or injury or emergence of a player that you haven't seen yet, or who knows what reason. And so drafting strictly for need often gets teams in trouble, and the more you're a losing team and your record's south of 500, the more desperate you are and the more need you have. Carolina, I think, is in a position where, although they were sub 500, they were in a division that allowed them to win and go to another playoff game, but they're in a position where they're not so far down in their division race that they have to start taking risk and reaching, as you say. No, I think they went for the best defensive athlete, most dynamic defensive player, and the fact that was at the bottom of the first round, so be it.
Greg Bell, the NewsTribune.com, director of writing at the University of Washington Athletics. Guys, we got so behind, I'm just going to power through the next segment of the interview because he's given us some good insight into Shaq Thompson. Here's Greg Bell again. You've mentioned that, he's this tweener. We don't know if he's a safety, a linebacker, or even a running back in some crazy, strange world. How versatile of a player is, and I know you've touched on this, but what I want to know is this. Is there a way, is the defense, like you've referenced Seattle several times, is there a way that we can kind of use him almost what I would call like a safety backer, where you throw him out there as a linebacker, but you ask him to do whatever the play needs?
I think that's exactly what he'll end up being. The whole reason he became a linebacker, he was a star running back in high school at Trent High School in Sacramento. He was about to go to Cal, which is his older brother Sid Kwan had gone to Cal and ended up playing for the Denver Broncos before rupturing his Achilles 2 years into his career, NFL career. He was going to be a safety when he first got to the University of Washington. Steve Sarkisian and his staff, Justin Wilcox, is now the defense coordinator at USC, came to him after his freshman year, actually before his freshman year, I should say, and said, no, we're going to make you a linebacker. And what the Huskies wanted was Thompson's athleticism to be closer to the line. Instead of him making plays as a safety at 5 or 10 yards, they wanted him to make it at the line of scrimmage, 1 or 2 yards, or even in the backfield. They wanted to rush him, or they wanted him to go out in the flat with running backs, or they wanted to bring him inside on stunts. It turned out that Shaq Thompson as a linebacker closer to the line of scrimmage affected more plays. And that was really the bottom line. He does have safety size. I mean, 6 foot and 228, and you can't say that's a linebacker size, but his speed and his ability to get to the ball to cover anyone. I mean, I saw him when he played for Washington covering wide receivers outside, split wide. The Huskies thought he was the best kickoff returner. They put him in a kickoff return in a bowl game, and he ran it back 70 yards. It was his only kickoff return of the season. Last year, the Huskies were so down on running backs that he ended up averaging 7.5 yards a carry as a running back and hardly played defense. That's the kind of guy you have. And, oh, by the way, he's only 20 years old. So physically, he's going to grow bigger than 228 pounds in the NFL, and I think that's going to alleviate some of the concerns that he's not big enough to play linebacker.
Yeah, we had a guy like that now a decade ago and is still on the team. Thomas Davis came in as a safety and was able to transition successfully to a linebacker and actually play better. I would like to know this is, would you say that, well, first, let me ask you, you mentioned Seattle so much. Were they interested in Shaq at all?
I think they were. I don't think they were as a first-round pick because they didn't have one, for instance, because they had traded to get Jimmy Graham. But the Seahawks, had only graded 16 players to be first-round talent in this draft, so that's why they weren't afraid of giving up their first-round pick to get Jimmy Graham. But had Shaq Thompson been available at 63, which he wasn't going to be, they would have drafted him, and they saw much, much more of him than a lot of teams did in their own backyard.
Guys, that is Greg Bell from thenewstribune.com. He also is the director of writing at the University of Washington for the athletics department. We have got Anthony Ruzzuti calling in 3 minutes. So I want to talk about these comments, guys. Joey, 20 years old, a guy that can grow into a position. Is this somebody told me that he was only 4 or 5 pounds less than Levante David was when he came into the league. Do you see Shaq Thompson coming in, and all of a sudden, do you see some brilliance in this pick after you hear that?
Absolutely. I think the fact that he's 20 years old makes a huge difference in this draft pick.
You're still a kid.
Yeah, he's still a kid. He's still developing. That's such a great thing because you really have an opportunity to mold him and shape him to become, if he's willing to be, of course, to become the kind of player you want on your team. As far as
he just saved about $2,000 because when he goes to the team dinner and he's asked to pick up the check, he can't pay for the alcohol. He can't buy the Don't Perignon.
Hell yeah!
Good point, Mel. Very good point.
Maybe he'll be out of his rookie year by the time they stop hazing.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Abby says something a little creepy. Oh my God, Shaq is 20. Love it when we draft babies. They'll just improve and hopefully belong to us longer. Oh, be with us longer. Thought it said belong to us longer. I want your babies.
Maybe the dingo ate you, baby.
You know what I didn't feel is anyway, I think the only thing that what Greg Bell had to say is that he was surprised that he was drafted in the first round, only because, not because he shouldn't have been. I never got that impression. The impression I got is he just didn't think that anybody was actually going to do the right thing. It sounds like they're going to do the right thing. Guys, what we're going to do is we're going to keep talking till Anthony Ruzzuti, Pro Football Spot, calls in, editor of the NFC South. We're going to talk for him for a couple minutes. We're going to jump back into the second half of the interview at 10:50. But, guys, I'm going to tell you this. You're going to find out what Shaq Thompson's real nickname is. We don't even have to give him one. You're going to find out how Shaq Thompson is as an individual and even what he looked like in high school. So please stick around for that. Joe, I think it's time for you to tell people where they can get some tickets to see Shaq Thompson.
To see Shaq Thompson and Devin Funchess, who I believe is 20 years old as well. Think about that.
That's exactly right. Oh, my Lord.
Think about that.
You got giant babies.
Yes,
we're going to call them Abby's
Abby
babies.
Like to keep your Abby's babies. Abby's babies, but she likes giant babies.
She does like giant babies.
So she probably likes it.
Her husband likes jet babies.
When she walks past the mall and she sees an 8-year-old nursing, she's like, you're going to be a Carolina Panther.
No, that's disgusting.
Abby, we apologize in advance.
Well, if you need tickets to a Panthers game, Hornets game, or sporting event or concert, get them through Ticket Monster. Cheap tickets, no fees, all created by fans. Kind of like Carolina Cat Chronicles, we're for fans by fans. Just go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com, select the Schedule tab, and click Buy Tickets. It takes you to Ticket Monster. You'll get your tickets with no fees. You have a blast, and Ticket Monster helps us grow. Mel, your thoughts on those tickets that you just bought to them? How did it go?
Guys, I just bought 23 different tickets to 2 different ball games. One to the LA Dodgers next week, and one to the Colorado Rockies in June. 23 different tickets, and I saved $74 on 23 tickets. I did. I did a comparison. I went to their site. I went to Ticket Monster through the CarolinaCatChronicles.com link. Saved that much money. It's pretty impressive. It's easy.
That's enough to buy a couple of hot dogs at the Dodgers.
Hey, freaking Puerto Rican, when we go to Jacksonville, I will be buying you some hot dogs.
All right.
All right, freaking Puerto Rican likes hot dogs, but you know what I like? I like ProFootballSpot.com, and I like my man Anthony Ruzzuti, who is the NFC South editor and who has been covering the Carolina Panthers. Thanks for joining the C3 podcast, Anthony. You got a wonderful name. Joey has been excited to have you on, but we want to get you this. We've been talking about Shaq Thompson. We just want to get your initial perspective. We're going to keep you for about 5 minutes. What's your initial reaction to the Shaq Thompson pick?
Well, as you guys were saying earlier, 20-year-old guy you can mold, tremendous, unique athlete. Played all those positions at Washington, inside linebacker, outside linebacker, safety, running back. And the thing Dave Gettleman really pinpointed in that press conference after was that he has the ability to sniff out the end zone. You know, those 4 touchdowns on defense he had, 2 out of the backfield. He scored 6 last year. In his last year at Washington. So you're getting a guy who's flexible, unique athlete. He'll allow the scheme versatility to kick in. Just an overall guy you can just mold.
Do you think that it was a stretch to pick him in the first round?
At first it might have looked like that, but then you're hearing rumblings about Dallas was looking in on him. So again, you're getting this guy you could put your hands on. You got Rivera and Sean McDermott are 2 really good defensive minds. They're going to know how to use them. They're going to know how to put them in and grow next to Kuechly and Davis. I don't think it's going to look like a reach a couple of years from now.
Joe, jump in there. You got some questions for Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony, I want to get your thoughts on the Funchess pick, and I guess first thing I want to know is, did you feel we overpaid for the pick, and what we traded?
Right, that might have been similar to the Shaq Thompson. When you see it at first, it might have looked like a reach, it might have looked like they overpaid. But again, now you're hearing that the Saints were probably also in on Funchess. But you're getting a guy that's kind of like Kelvin, a big target with the big strike zone, 6'4", 232, 9 3/4-inch hands, big dude. He didn't have a great time at the combine. He put in a 4.47 at Michigan Pro Day, which might be a little faster than what it looks like on film, but he has good game speed for his size.
Mel, you were interested in Funchess. What do you think about, ask Ruzzuti, what do you think about the overall draft? What were your impressions? What would you like to know, Mel?
Yeah, I'd like to know your opinion on the value the Panthers got after giving away 3 picks to move up and get both Funchess and Daryl Williams, who by the way was my favorite pick of the draft.
Right. Well, reference again with Gilman, he said before the draft in his presser that they were trying to build a roster to beat the best team they're going to face. And if you look at that, it's obviously Seattle. 0-4 in the last 3 years against them. They've been that obstacle that they can't get by. So you're seeing Funchess, who's another big guy again, 6'4", he's going to match up with those big Seattle corners. Then you're kicking Daryl Williams, the mauler in the run game. He'll keep that offense going. He'll come in and compete with Remmers from the start. So you're getting 2 guys that could play right from the get-go, I think.
How do you feel about overall with the draft? Are you happy with it? Do you think that we're going to get a bad grade and that it's going to turn out to be better than the grades give out?
Definitely going to think it's they've been getting a lot of C+, C's. I saw maybe a couple B- in that. It'll probably pan out better than what they're getting now. They started out with 9 picks, ended up with 5. I think they really sat back and addressed where they needed to get with those 5 picks. The overall draft class may not have been as strong as most people may have thought. But just like last year, I think that grade could end up around the B maybe in a couple of years when you look at it.
Why do you think that this draft class, because I've heard that several from other people as well, is that from everybody we were hearing in the last 2 months, this was the deepest draft we ever saw in our whole lives. Running backs through 10 rounds. I mean, it just was, everybody was fawning over how many tackles there were, how many this and that. Then draft day comes around and reality sets in. Is that just typical draft hype?
Yeah, you usually see that kind of stuff where, these guys are getting hyped up. You see, like, Gregory, he had his off-field problems, but he drops down pretty considerable amount for a guy that got all that hype. Some of the running backs dropped. Some of the wide receivers didn't go as high. Jalen Strong. There's a note. I think Justin Hardy could have went, mid to late third round, but he dropped a little to the early fourth. So, it's a lot of guys just third, fourth, fifth is when a lot of stuff goes haywire, and they want to pick their guys, and it deviates from the board. So you're going to see a lot of guys drop.
Who had the best draft in the NFC South, Anthony?
Look, I think Atlanta had a really strong draft. They got Fowler, exactly what they needed there. Really good value. He could have went top 5 without a problem. Again, Hardy, great pick there. I know you guys love him. He could be that number 2 eventually, I think, when Roddy White's through. So overall, they did a pretty good job, I think, of addressing what they had to.
Yeah, they got Coleman too, Devin Coleman.
Right.
It wasn't Fowler. It was, who was it? It was
Beasley.
Beasley.
Beasley. That's
Beasley.
right. Who's a great player. All right. Well, man, great insight on the draft, Anthony. Could you tell everybody? Listen, we've got a lot of big audience tonight. Can you tell them where they can find your work and how they can get after you if they want to follow up on this?
Yep. Just follow stuff. A lot of good farm talk articles at ProFootballSpot.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Anthony_Ruzzuti. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Ma'am, thanks a lot for coming on the show tonight. You were great. We will hope to have you back soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right, Joe, what we got here is, things that, I felt like that was some real measured insight right there. I felt like Anthony was not too high, not too low. What did you comments?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I really respect his views and opinions, and he usually writes really good stuff. So that's what I was looking for, just something to temper the pessimism as well as temper the optimism and kind of give us a matter-of-fact look at our draft picks. And I feel that's what we got from him. That's why I was really wanting to bring him on, and hopefully we'll be able to bring him back a few times, especially during the course of the year.
Good get there. Good get there, freaking Puerto Rican. Good
Thank
job.
you. He's a fantastic guy. He's a good person, too.
Way to go, Joe.
That's good news, people. Good news.
People. Guys, we still have more from Greg Bell, and I'm going to tell you this, is that don't go anywhere, folks. We have some serious, some great insight on Shaq Thompson I still want to hit up. But before that, you know what it is. It's that time.
It must be backdoor friction.
It is not that time because I don't got the sound clip. Bum, bum. No, it's not. Joe, we have, I think, one last plug to put in. Where do they need to find our work? Can you tell them where they can find our work and how they can follow us before we get into the next segment of the show?
Yes, you can find our work at CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It is the premier Panther fan site. We try to give you all the real Panther news from the fans' perspective. We've got some good writers, man, some really great writers, some blossoming writers, I'll say. And we always putting up new content. You can go there to watch some of our older podcasts. I highly recommend going and watching a 4-hour marathon of us during the draft. It is highly entertaining, full of tomfoolery and balderdash. So
Well
I
done.
highly recommend it.
But it is now time for Backdoor Fiction! That's right. It's time for one of our favorite games because they always make fun of me when we play it. It's
Backdoor friction.
Backdoor Friction. Oh, Lord. That is funky. Funky weird. Backdoor Friction, here it comes, also known as Fact or Fiction, where I pose a thought, fact or fiction, to my buddies. Mel Collins, guys, A lot of hype surrounding him as an undrafted free agent. Mel, fact or fiction, Lel Collins will be a Carolina Panther before the end of the week.
I would hope so, and I'm even saying a few prayers that it happens, but I'm going to say fiction, just because the odds are against us, man. 31 other teams going after him. A little bit of shades of Ray Caruth there, so unless it's pretty clear that he had nothing to do with this, I don't see it happening.
Joe, I don't like that. The 50 Shades of Ray Caruth, not a good sounding movie. Joey, Lel Collins, fact or fiction, he'll be a Carolina Panther by the end of the week.
I am going to have to say friction on that one because I'm going to say that because the main reason is other teams have more salary cap room than we do. And those teams that have
I
the
don't
extra
think it
salary
matters.
cap,
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, buddy.
He only gets paid what the
He's
minimum.
capped.
Yeah,
he is capped out.
Yeah,
he's
because he's
capped.
not drafted. He gets paid the same.
He's going where he wants. He's going to get paid the same.
Well, then I say if that's really the case, that he can't, that it's the same money no matter where he goes, then I'm going to say it's going to be a fact because we got Trey Turner, and him and Trey Turner are homies, and Trey Turner is going to convince him Carolina's where he needs to be. Crawfish.
Come on, Trey. Turn up the heat, buddy. Turn up the heat, Trey.
You like that?
Exactly.
Everybody that's just listening only tomorrow, Professor's whiteboard says crawfish and pancakes. It's what they eat right before they pancake your ass. Last fact or fiction, guys. The fact that the overwhelming outpour from Carolina Panther fans on Twitter today calling for Lel Collins to be a Carolina Panther. Fact or fiction, this call, this welcoming was premature based on the status of what's going on with him and surrounding his, well, what the crime was. Mel, fact or fiction, premature welcome.
Fiction.
That love.
What's that?
The love that Panther fans are giving him, was that premature? Fact or fiction?
Oh man, I think it's fiction. I mean, actually, I think the Panthers should go ahead and sign him before we even know. You can always cut the dude later if you find out he's not. Beat the competition. Get the guy on your team, and if he turns out to be a Ray Caruth, cut his ass.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, claim
before he cuts your ass.
Before he cuts our ass, you know? Cut before being cut. That might be my new tagline. Cut before being cut. But you know what? We get Lel Collins and Daryl Williams on that line. Dude, Super Bowl 2015.
All right, let me ask you this, Mel. I'm sorry, Tony. I know we're doing backdoor friction, but I'm wanting to ask Mel this. Is Collins a starting left tackle right away kind of player?
He is way better than Byron Bell. He's got a ways to go before he's going to be an elite left tackle. But, yeah, he's going to be way better than what we had last year. He's a
Is he better than Orr? Or,
yeah.
Would
in a lot of ways,
have
yes.
Byron Bell or Lel Collins?
Or O'Hare, as our buddy Smokewagon calls him.
Yeah, O'Hare, exactly.
Yeah, I thought that was an airport somewhere. But.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Perfect.
There you go.
Sorry.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and move on, guys. We've got still a very important interview to finish up. I cannot tell you how cool this ends. Greg Bell, I think, how many clips did we hear before I left? Before we heard 2 clips. All right. Greg Bell with the, Washington University Director of Writing, right? Also the Seattle Seahawks beat writer for the newstribune.com in Tacoma, Washington. He had this to say about the Shaq Thompson selection. What weaknesses do you see in his game at this point? Is it all in trying to find where he belongs, or are there things that you think he could work on?
Well, in the NFL, it'll be a test of strength for him. They'll put tight ends on him, if he's anywhere close to the line of scrimmage, they're going to try to get bigger guys on him to block him, especially in the run game. And that's the question is, if you're going to line him up as a linebacker, he's a liability in the run game. Well, he wasn't when he's outside because of his speed and ability to get to the ball carrier. But if they pound him off tackle or on end sweeps right at him if he's playing outside linebacker, that'll be the biggest challenge and perceived weakness. Is a 228-pound, 6 feet tall. He's not going to be able to shed fullbacks and linebackers in the NFL. So strength is considered to be a weakness. He's not the fastest guy in the world. I mean, you would think that as less athletic as he is, he's just a burner. He's not. His instincts and his smarts get him to the ball before ball carriers get to the hole sometimes. Not necessarily because he has 4.2 speed, which he doesn't. So some people will knock him for that. I just think you're going to find the guy is always around the ball. He knows where to run, and he's athletic enough to shed blockers other than take them on. And I think Carolina saw that, and that's why they drafted him.
I know they're highlight reels, and they always show the great plays, but it seems like he's always picking up the ball off the ground and taking it to the house. So you're right, he's always around the ball. Is there any question marks surrounding his tackling? I'm not a draft guru. I leave that to all the other guys. I don't watch hours and hours of film. So, we drafted Shaq Thompson, and I maybe had seen him once or twice. We live on the East Coast. But from a couple of videos that I saw, it seemed like guys going across the middle that he tried to pop them real hard rather than wrap them up. And, in the NFL, that can be problematic because dudes don't fall down with that. Is that just a couple of highlights that I saw, or does he need to work on that?
No, he does. That's an area of his game that needs to improve tackling in general. It's tough these days on tackling for these major college players or like pro teams. They don't tackle to the ground during the regular season. They barely do it during training camp in August. And he didn't get to work on it a whole lot, to be honest with you. He was a shoulder hitter, head down, head hunting type of shoulder hitter in the secondary when the ball was in flight, and he often did miss tackles or guys did bounce off him. And you're right, NFL receivers, the bigger and better ones, are just going to run through those and bounce away and keep running. So I would say tackling in the open field is something other than his shoulder, of actually bringing receivers down. That has been a knock on him since he got into Washington. It'll probably be another challenge and weakness, perceived weakness with the Panthers.
Guys, that's Greg Bell on Shaq Thompson. What I think we're starting to see here is the guy that's going to come in, be a playmaker, but it sounds like it's not that he's going to be refined from day one, but you could really kind of ask him to do anything, and you're going to get a lot out of him. Is he going to be the best player from day one? I'm not sure. Joey, do you like these things? Do these things about the tackling potentially worry you? Him getting bigger, or does the fact that he's Abby's baby make you feel okay?
I think the fact that he's Abby's baby makes me feel wonderful.
Hold him and snuggle him, Abby.
Exactly.
Rock him.
I think
gonna love him and hold him and
the
squeeze
fact
him.
that he's 20 years old means he can still add bulk to his frame. So I think we're going to see the same sort of transition that took place with Thomas Davis. We'll see him add bulk and not lose any speed. The tackling is something that they will, I'm sure, stress and repeatedly go over with him, because in the NFL, you miss tackles, you will be on the sideline. It's as simple as that.
True. That's true.
So, they've got too much invested in him for him to sit on the sideline. So
all right, you're listening to Greg Bell from. You kind of jumped into a couple of things I wanted to touch on. We wanted to talk to you about what you saw in Shaq when he was in high school, but I'm going to kind of just wrap this question all into one. You covered, used to write for the Sac Bee, and this may have been before Shaq's time, but I think you said earlier that it was while he was there. Also, you've watched him in Washington. When did you know? Was there a game? Was there a moment, a time where you knew that this guy was going to be headed to the NFL?
I think it was the first day of his first year. I covered him at the University of Washington when he was on the field as a starting safety, and the very first time he got on the field. And he was a starter from day one, game one. And in the Pac-12, that's not usual, not for a defensive player to be as integral to the defense as he was. And I think Steve Sarkisian, Justin Wilcox, and his staff that brought him to Washington knew he was going to be an NFL-type player. he knew the NFL. At least he knew big-time college football, how to get into the NFL through his brother. They're very tight. They were raised by a single mother in Sacramento, and they're very thankful for everything they have. And Shaq promised his mom he would graduate. He became an A student. He's 3 courses away, which he's finishing this quarter from UW, to getting his bachelor's degree in African American Studies. And he has very much wanted to get that degree. Oh, by the way, some of your Panthers fans may know that he spent a full season, a summer short season in Class A, the Boston Red Sox organization, playing outfield. That's how athletic he is. The reason he gave that up is he went, I think, 1 for 39 with 36 strikeouts, if I remember the stats correctly. And he said he couldn't hit the curveball, literally. But he was in the Gulf Coast League in low Class A for a year, and then he went back to a extended spring training during a spring break of his sophomore year. And the Red Sox, I'm guessing here because I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think they drafted him in the low teens rounds, like 12th, 13th round. And with a draft that's 50-some rounds, that means you're a pretty decent ball player. So
Exactly.
that's the kind of athlete you're getting here. And a well-rounded kid. He's a very humble kid. He's not a kind of a yell, screamer guy. He's very demonstrative on the field, but in the locker room, he's more of a quiet leader, lead by example type of guy. I'd be very surprised if you guys are not happy with Shaq Thompson this time next year.
Did his personality just gel well in Spokane?
Oh, in Seattle? Yes. He had a bunch of strong personalities. Danny Shelton was one, another fellow first-round pick of the Browns the other day. There were some strong personalities on that team. We know Marcus Peterson's story, Washington, and how he was kicked off the team for being a little too demonstrative to his coaches. But Shaquille, named Shaquille as a baby. And an aside, I will tell you, now that I mentioned Shaquille, we were at LSU.
Classic.
Sophomore, junior year, playing LSU in September. And a friend, the former Steve Sarkisian secretary, used to work at LSU, graduated from LSU, a Louisiana native, and she knew Shaquille O'Neal, went to school at the same time Shaq was playing basketball for LSU. So she invited Shaquille O'Neal to the Huskies team hotel in Baton Rouge, and Shaq was there when we arrived. Shaq Thompson, I couldn't believe it, that Shaq O'Neal was in his team lobby. So this is how precocious and confident Shaq Thompson is. He walked up to Shaquille O'Neal and said, "Hey, I'm the football Shaq." He might be the real Shaq. I'm the football Shaq. And he's a college sophomore at the time.
Jeez.
Shaq kind of patted him on the head like a little brother. He's 7'4", Shaquille O'Neal, and kind of patted him on the head. But you guys in Carolina should ask me about the time you met Shaquille O'Neal and told him he was the football Shaq in a hotel lobby in Baton Rouge.
Oh, that's so excellent, because at C3 we give everybody a nickname. So right now we're working on something with Football Shaq immediately. Well, it sounds like he's a great character. You think in Carolina we're big on character. You think he's going to, kind of excel in the off the field and the community interaction?
I'd be shocked if he didn't. He's very appreciative of this opportunity, like I said. He wanted to graduate from college above all. I mean, he could have played professional baseball and chased the money and not even gone to college, but he wanted to get his degree, and he did that. What do I know of your coach, Ron Rivera, and that regime there is a very, like you said, high character type guys. I think he's going to get along with a guy like Cam Newton. I think that he has a smooth personality. He won't shy away from anything the NFL has to offer, yet he's got his head on straight enough to know why he's there. He's there to take care of his mother who raised him as a single mom. That will be in the forefront of his mind. I think you're going to be surprised a little bit about how humble he is, or as decorated and accomplished as he is.
Excellent. Last question for you. I'll let you get out of here. Anyway, you see the Carolina Panthers going into Seattle and walking out 15-12. Like Seattle has done against us for the last 3 years.
Well, I do know for sure that game will end in the teens, that no one's going to score 20 points. That's the MO when they play each other. They played each other so often they might as well be division rivals. And, man, I'll tell you, Carolina gave them a game in January, and that was not one of Seattle's better postseason games the last 2 years. They ended up winning at the end, but there is something about the style, the grittiness, the low-scoring, ball-controlled way that Carolina plays that really gives Seattle fits. And that will by no means be one of the easier regular season games for the Seahawks, be it out here in Seattle or wherever they play it. the Seahawks don't exactly love playing the Panthers. I can say that.
Well, we're ready. We need some redemption. We want to actually get it in your house. Thank you, Greg Bell, the News Tribune in Tacoma, Washington. Can you tell everybody that's listening how they can follow your work?
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. GBell Seattle is my Twitter handle, and thenewstribune.com, all one word, thenewstribune.com is our website. We have a Seahawks Insider beat. Yeah, you're going to be happy with Shaq Thompson, is all I can tell you. I would tell you if you might be some dangerous signs or something to look for, but he's the real deal, and you'll see why they drafted him in the first round.
Man, that's awesome. We're going to catch back up with you, hopefully, around that time Carolina's meeting back up with Seattle.
Yes, sir. Anytime. It's good to talk to you, Anthony.
That's Greg Bell, also known as Greg Bell. You mean Seattle.
Spokane, it's just the other side of the state.
I was just meaning, does he Spokane that language?
There you go. Hey, no, you know what? Don't be so hard on yourself, Professor. That was one heck of an interview.
It was a great interview.
Man, what a good get. That dude's awesome. He knows his stuff.
All right. Were you like me that you go into this now? Mel, you don't get this same because you're kind of a west guy. You're not on the coast, but you're westerly. We don't know anything about this. Joe, were you kind of like not upset, but not happy, but just kind of like, I don't know what to think at 25, or was that just me? When we picked Shaq Thompson.
I think I was a little dumbstruck, is how I would put it. Just because I had, we don't watch much West Coast ball here on the East Coast, man, especially where I'm at. It's Clemson, Carolina, it's SEC, ACC, so we don't really get to watch much West Coast ball. But it sounds like from Mr. Bell that we have us on our hands a real player.
Yeah, Mel, how excited are you after this? Because I know me, I went from just kind of going, well, hey, I'm just going to trust in Gettleman, seems like a versatile guy, to like now I'm excited to get this guy on a football field.
Wait a minute, you lit me up last Thursday night when I said I trust in Gettleman. You said that was a cop-out. You said that was a cop. Of course, you had about 12 cocktails about halfway through.
Oh, that was bad. That was by like round 8 too.
That was no. My initial thought on Shaq was if you're going to take somebody in the first round, know what position they're going to play and where they're going to fit. And see, I think that was our problem. 6 foot, 222. It's hard for us to envision exactly where he's going to fit.
That's what
played
he said
linebacker.
Scouts had problems with. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my problem. But you know what? It looks like Gettleman and Rivera have a good plan for him, and the dude is one heck of an athlete. He averaged 7+ yards per carry as a running back. So should Stewart get hurt, and if Artis Payne isn't ready, you got somebody that can fill in right there. Pretty amazing.
Andy Massey, at Andy Massey 10, our boy, said this. He said, line of the night, cut Lel Collins before he cuts your ass. I totally agree. I'm happy with that line myself.
I say about one cuss word every 3 months, and then when I do, it becomes the quote of the night.
There you go.
My question about this is going back to that with Thursday night. I think, if I can remember the foggy haze of my tirades, had nothing to do with Shaq Thompson, with more the disdain that we didn't go up and get Todd Gurley.
Right.
So
man, if we could have gotten Gurley,
Mel's ice up pick, we'll have to wait and see.
Maybe.
All right, you guys ready to get on out of here and maybe give a little ice up picks tonight?
Let's do it.
All right. Time for our favorite segment of the week. It's where C3 tells somebody to ice up. You might even tell me. For all knows, I've told a dang 12-year-old to ice up. Told Lel Collins, be careful. Cut your ass before you cut my ass. Maybe Mel said that. I don't know who said it. At this point is everybody's fair game. I'm fair game. Mel's game. That freaking Puerto Rican and his beans and rice, definitely game. I love beans and rice, Joey, so we're going to open it up to you. Can you hit us up with your ice up pick of the week?
Yes, I have a very interesting and funny and Don't mess with us ice up pick this week. My ice up pick goes to the two, I can't even say gentlemen, I'm going to say idiots that had plans on attacking a Mohammed drawing art kind of festival in Texas, the Prophet Muhammad, that is. They had body armor, they had automatic assault weapons, they had bags and bags of ammo, and they were ready to die for their cause. Meanwhile,
what cause was that?
That would be ISIS.
Ooh.
Oh, they were the ISIS.
Yes, they were ISIS terrorists.
Oh, I
They
thought
need
they
to
were
ISIS
trying to
up.
kill Muhammad people.
Yes, they were going to the exhibit that was on display, and they were planning on taking everybody out. Lo and behold, a lowly off-duty police officer that was acting as a security guard with his pistol only takes them out.
Damn! Boom!
Takes them out while they're in all their gear ready to go to war. He takes them out with his pistol. So I say to you, ISIS, ice up, because you don't mess with the USA. It was your first attack on U.S. soil, and now you got our attention in a big way. We're coming for you. Ice up is what you're going to be doing, because you're going to be hurting soon.
Ice up,
ISIS.
Ice up, ISIS.
ISIS. You better be careful, because America will change you from ISIS to an Indian.
Just like that.
Hey, you know what? I know a couple females that follow C3. You piss them off, they'll take ISIS out single-handedly. So ISIS, you better watch your back.
I believe that.
Nice. Great job, Joe.
Yeah, and great job to that awesome-ass security guard who put down those punk-ass bugs. Body armor, wussy.
Exactly.
No,
AK-47, wussy.
Yeah, Russian. You just supporting the commies. Joe, I remember a party. Every time I think of commies, I think of that freaking Puerto Rican. He doesn't remember, but I do. Mel, can you tell us? It was from his bachelor party.
He doesn't remember. No.
Can you drop a ice up pick of the week for?
I can. You know, maybe I'll be accused of this is a situation where you love him when they're on your team, you hate him when he's on somebody else's team. I got to admit that's probably a little bit of a part of it. But you know what? I defended this dude for a long, long time. I was like, he's not found guilty. We all make mistakes. Some chick comes swinging high heels at you. You know, maybe things got a little out of control. Give him another chance. He's sorry. He wants to play for us for free. But you got a clip for me?
Release the Kraken! Release the Kraken!
You know, this dude, you talk about...
By the way, he was driving in his Bentley or whatever he was driving while he recorded that video.
And this was not too long ago. This was relatively recently.
December. It's been since December.
I mean, this dude, he gets into a fight his first day at Cowboys camp. He does that awful rendition of Release the Kraken while driving, mind you. And
he's already got in trouble for the driving crap before, the 100 miles an hour.
He's, you know, remember he missed most of a season for wrecking riding a motorcycle, right, going over 100 miles an hour. And then this past weekend, he's following a Panther fan who says getting Devin Funchess to pair up with Kelvin Benjamin is like having the Twin Towers. What does this jackrabbit come out and say? See, Abby, I told you I don't cuss often. But he comes out and he says, the Twin Towers got blown up, didn't they? LOL. Well, listen, you jackleg, you don't joke about something like that. You need to find a screwdriver, tighten up the screws in your screw-loose head, get your act together.
In your brain.
Or you're going to be out of this league before you know it. Even the Cowboys aren't going to put up with that crap. So Greg Hardy, and this is proof that people can say anything on YouTube or the internet because he is a lot bigger than me, so... I'm going to say it on the internet. Greg Hardy, ice up, son. Get your act together. Get yourself together, man. Ice
Well,
up.
Man, don't wuss out. We'll say it to his face. And by the way, if you want to know more about this story, you can see this, is that the professor put up a story last night, was pumping out stories, by the way. I don't know if you noticed, but I was working hard last night. And the story was Greg Hardy learned can't fix stupid.
You can't fix stupid, but my point in saying
stupid, brother.
My point in saying that you say that on the internet, that dude is crazy. Somebody saying that to him, he's liable to go just crazy. The guy needs to tighten up.
He made all of America mad.
America
is upset with him right now, so don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this, Mel. We can say that to his face, and some security guard gonna turn him from ISIS.
Right on.
Better be careful with that, son. But my point here is this: it's just a total degenerate jackass that's too stupid, and I'm glad he's gone. And my prediction, folks, Greg Hardy's gonna suck. Greg Hardy is not gonna be the same Greg Hardy he was 2 years ago. I don't think, or at least he won't for another year. That's my prediction. All right, my ice up pick of the week has been organic, as they always are, fellas. I stumbled across this. Lifetime is putting out a show called Preach, and here is a little clip from it.
Oh my God, this is real.
Were you guys able to hear that?
Most of that.
I turned the sound up later as I go. We're gonna watch it one more time, folks, to see if you can see what I see.
Wasn't this filmed at Joe's house last Friday night?
It was.
Oh my God, this is real.
Unfortunately, that was not quite as loud as the end there on the first take. Boom,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. If you guys can Google this, you might not have been able to hear it, folks, but I just played a video. Hopefully you could see it. If you're listening to the podcast, then obviously this went very silent for a moment. Went very quiet. Still trying to figure out why my YouTube videos don't play through the sound as well anymore, but this is mayhem, dude. And I'm sorry. I'm going to accept a lot of the Bible thumpers. I know a couple. I know a couple guys in here that are pretty open with the loving of the old super prophet God on earth. His name is Jesus, right? I'm okay with that, but I'm
down
not
with
sure.
Jesus.
Are you down with Jesus? I'm
down
okay with that. I'm not sure that getting these 4 chicks together and they saying when you get these prophets in the room, things gonna happen. Boom, and then they blow. She blew like she did a LeBron James in somebody's face. She chest bumped a demon out of some dude's face. And then at some point, I think she pushed a baby, maybe Shaq Thompson, back into a lady's stomach. Folks, if you're doing a reality show called Preach on Lifetime and their main tagline is boom, I'm going to guess that boom ain't coming from heaven. So this is what I gotta go, folks, is I'm not gonna try to dump on anybody's persuasions or anything like that, because look, I'm OG. I'm an OG Christian. I'm the Catholic. Keep it real. We're the ones that preserved everything for y'all. You want to read the Bible? You should say thank you, Catholics. You want to say the liturgy? You want to say thank you, Catholics. But I don't know what Pope. I just don't know what Pope John Paul II would have said about the show Preach. Hashtag Preach. Hashtag Ice Up. That's my guys. That's my take, Joe. Did I go too far?
No, you didn't go too far. All it was, she was knocking people down with her boobs. That's all she was doing.
Hey,
That's nowhere in the Bible does it say to use your breasts to knock somebody down. That's
Did it say what would be the equivalent? Was that a stinger splash she gave him, Mel?
I would call it
probably a pretty good analogy there.
I would call it a booby blast.
I would say that was a Magnum TA belly-to-belly suplex.
Is there anything, Joey, tell me anything in the Gospels about ridding yourself of demons by that move?
No, actually, I don't think Jesus said to use your breast to cast out demons. Not once. Not in the Bible I've read, anyway.
You know what the Bible I read said use your breast to feed giant babies that will one day be drafted by the Carolina Panthers.
Did it say Abby's babies? Feed Abby's babies.
Feed Abby's babies, folks. We're going to take up a collection. Guys,
C3 follower McFly joined in and said, "What did she just?" said, "What did she just chest bump someone to the floor? What?"
And in the name of Jesus, I chest bump this demon out of you. I am gonna, in the name of Jesus, LeBron James, this demon out of you. It's the C3 podcast, folks. Joey, it's Cinco de Mayo. Tell us, Latin style, how they can find us and where they need to be on Tuesday nights.
Tuesday nights, you need to be here in the place to be, which is just with the crew from C3.
Mel, how can they follow your work?
You can always find me on Twitter at Panthers Drafter. Always having fun, always talking draft, just having a good time, man. I'm here most every Tuesday night. Next Tuesday night I'll be at a Dodgers game, so I'll be listening to you in between innings. But other than that, I'm always here. My favorite night of the week.
That's right, baby. It's my favorite night of the week. It's the night I entertain y'all by acting silly, hanging out with my boys. Tuesday night, C3 podcast, picking their brains on all the football information while I comment and I say, it's the C3 podcast. You've been LeBron James. Good night, folks.
We out.
Buenos nachos.
Buenos